Good morning, everyone. We're delighted that you could all attend and join us today as we talk about USMCA, what that means for exporters, how we can benefit from it, how we can grow our business, our export sales and brand, and across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. We have clients here from the United States. We also have Canadian clients here where we're delighted that you can attend. We have some Mexicans too, which is terrific. So you're all ready. While just I can see the last of you signing on and registering, let's do a quick sort of introduction hold on, here we go. Introduction of who we are and on our agenda today. So we're going to be talking about USMCA, that's the United States Mexico Canada Agreement, what you need to know, that's what we've called this. It's about online tools to help exporters benefit from the USMCA. So just, where's my cursor gone? Here we go. Today, I am so pleased and honored to be joined by Mindy Herzog, who's a senior international person with the U.S. Commercial Services. And Mindy's going to give us a brief overview of some of the services provided by U.S. Commercial Services. And she's based in Orlando in Central Florida. And I'm really pleased that our two of my colleagues who are really experts on websites and online marketing for the Latin American markets, Nora Bonilla-Giarbolini and Camille Cardona, are joining me today to talk about Mexico in particular, and I'll be doing the Canadian part, as it were. A quick introduction also about who we are as a company. So IBT Online, IBT stands for International Business and Technology, by the way. We are a US company, but also a Canadian company, and we have offices across several places in the United States, also in Europe, and then outreaches in the Middle East and Far East. We are 100% focused on online tools. That means websites and online marketing and helping companies grow their businesses internationally. We are very proud also, we've set up something called Online Global Programs, and these are in various US states as well as in several provinces in Canada. There's one specifically designed as well for the US, for USMCA, and these are dedicated programs for companies who are looking to grow their online presence internationally. And there's lots of stats on this page that you can see about satisfied clients and how many languages and so on. But basically, the key that I really want to point out is all of these online programs are all about growing top line, a company's top line growth. That's really what your online program does. Moving along, how will these programs help you? They're all about, as I said, the very top line. They're growing the business, generating leads, growing your international sales, all of that stuff in the top line side. And as I said as well, we have dedicated programs for the USMCA in particular. There are grants available for some of these programs in some states. So with that, let's talk about now our agenda. We are going to be talking first from Mindy on U.S. Commercial Services and how the sort of U.S. Commercial Services giving a helping hand to exporters. Then we're going to dive into the online environment of these markets, the online environment in the USMCA. Then digging down deeper directly into best practice websites, both for Canada and Mexico, and how those come out. And then we talk about online marketing for Canada and Mexico as well. And we've saved some time at the end just for a summary and then Q&A. So do please put your Q&A into the chat box. We'll be curating questions. Very happy to, now's your chance. This is a webinar for you guys. Now's your chance. Ask any questions that you can think of for Canada and Mexico online business. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Mindy.
Thanks, Susanna.
Great.
Thanks. So as soon as Susanna mentioned, my name is Mindy Herzog, and I'm a Senior International Trade Specialist with the U.S. Commercial Service. First, a big thank you to IBT Online for inviting me here to speak today. IBT IBT has great partnerships with the states. They've won the federal government's President's E Award for supporting exporters. So congratulations, IBT. So you may be wondering who the commercial service is. Well, we're a federal agency within the U.S. Department of Commerce, and our mission is simply to help U.S. businesses compete and win in the global marketplace. So how do we do that? Well, as the U.S. government, we can open doors that no one else can around the world. So we have industry experts in more than 80 countries based at the U.S. embassies and consulates who can provide you with on-the-ground knowledge and connections. So there's many ways that you can utilize the U.S. government to support your business overseas. First, as you'll see on the slide, export counseling, market research, business matchmaking, and I'll go into that a little bit more. Commercial diplomacy is the U.S. government's action to protect U.S. commercial interests abroad. So any issues, we can help you solve them. We also provide advocacy support, which helps level the playing field for U.S. businesses. And I think we can go to the next slide. Our trade specialists like myself are here to support your business every step of the way. So if you're new to doing business overseas or not, we'd like to start off by meeting with your company and helping you develop a market entry strategy. So part of the strategy will be identifying your top markets that will help identify which countries that you may want to localize your website for, and IBT then can help you with that. But the first step is really identifying those target markets that you want to do business in. For new and also seasoned exporters, we can arrange matchmaking meetings for you with potential buyers and partners. We do background checks, and really we offer advice on how to promote your products overseas. One of the ways is localizing your website and also helping you navigate regulations and compliance, along with helping you at trade shows. And the last slide shows some of the trade shows and events that we're going to be coming up. We have a few where Mexico and Canada are involved. We also have newsletters in every sector from life science to clean tech. So I'd encourage you to sign up for those, so then you'll find out about the events and other leads that might come your way. We also have a great deal of free market research on the export.gov site, and these country commercial guides really tell you about how to do business in every country around the world. So, and they're free, they're on our export.gov site. And I'll just end by saying that the U.S. Commercial Service is here to support your growth every step of the way. And if you want to know more, you can reach out to me. And for the Canadians in the audience, we also have the Canadian government has a government organization that does the same thing. So you can, if you're Canadian, you can get support from them as well. Thank you.
Mindy, thank you so much. I said that we'd save questions to the end, but I just got one in from Mark, and hi there, Mark, good to see you again. And it's directly for you, so I thought I'd just pop this question into you now. He's just asking, do commercial services have any information or ability to help him with product fulfillment into, for example, Canada, or any resources that you could point in his direction?
Yes, Mark, I was going to say, just send me, I think at the end, Susanna will put up a slide with all of our contact details. Just send me an email and we can help you figure out how to do fulfillment in Canada.
Okay, great. And I'll put that in, Mark, I'll send that to you as well directly. Thank you very much, Mindy. That was great. And nice to see the questions coming in as well. So we're going to start then really talking first about the online environment in the USMCA. And one of the very first things I wanted to point out was that USMCA is what the US calls it. In Canada, Canadians call it the CUSMA, which is Canada, US, Mexico Agreement, or in French, Accord. And in Mexico, the one I like actually the best is TMEX, which is, I think that's the coolest one actually. But this, as we all know, comes after NAFTA. It was sort of already discussed with Barack Obama and then signed into action with the previous president. And it's an interesting time as well, I think. USMA is very much ripe for its time. We've seen a tremendous interest back into nearshoring, friendshoring, coming out of China and into Mexico, and well, Southeast Asia as well. But the whole North American economy, as it were, and environment is top of people's minds at the moment. and with thoughts about shorter supply chains and so on. So it really is very topical, and we've seen that reflected in our business. We are building so many Canadian and Mexican websites at the moment, so we're very pleased with all this interest here. And there's some obvious benefits, you know, that we all talk about and that you've heard, I'm sure, in the press and so on, that you're all aware of. But from our point of view, from the online point of view, what's really caught our attention is just the benefits of the free flow of data, which is really good news for e-commerce, especially B2B e-commerce and B2C e-commerce. And also the digital guidelines within the three. And that's still a little bit shaky because there are different compliance regulations in the three markets, but at least there's some strong guidelines within the USMCA. And I'm just going to keep calling it USMCA, by the way. I'm not going to do, or TMEX. But you know, the benefits are pretty clear. I wanted also to highlight that out of those 500 million consumers concerned within North America, English is 300 million, Spanish 120 million, and French 17 million. So those are the three big language groups. In total, I think there's 65 languages represented, but those are the three language groups, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Just a big overview picture again. Total population, internet penetration, and social media users by these different markets. I think the main thing I want to highlight here, okay, Mexico is a little bit lower in terms of penetration rates and social media users, but these are very much similar markets. They're all very internet savvy, and certainly Canada and the US is quite a mature internet market. Mexico a little bit less so, but a very vibrant and high growth market, as you'll see. So all of these numbers, I just really wanted to bring them up to say they're all actually pretty similar. Okay, 99 versus 72, there's a difference, but they're all right up there in terms of their online environment, the big headlines. Digging one layer deeper, sort of, you know, just for Canada, you know, we're not really here to talk about the sort of the Canadian economy. That's not our business, but the online side of Canada is really interesting. And I wanted to put a couple of points out there that highlight what we find most interesting for Canada. First of all, is its size. Can be a bit scary or overwhelming when you look at an online. You know, how do you do a website for a company based in Nova Scotia that's going to be efficient and well placed in British Columbia? You know, it's such a huge place. 90% of the population live along that border with the USA. So that's one aspect about it. Another feature, obviously, is the English and the French. A lot of Canadian websites, therefore, are in fact two websites, one English and one French for the Canadian market. I wanted to point out two other things. First of all, the internet infrastructure is very strong in Canada, which means you can have very powerful, heavy, you know, you'd have very fast uploads and download speeds. So very strong web presence. And finally, this notion of a cultural mosaic is very important as well. When you're looking at your buyer personas and you're saying, okay, you know, it's not a melting pot concept that you have in the United States. It's a mosaic, so that you'll have a lot of different cultural attitudes and variations in Canada. Mexico. You know, 15th largest economy in the world. There's a couple of things I wanted to point out there as well, just in the big aspects of it. First of all, the population, 30% of the population of Mexico is under the age of 18. This gets really important for the online world. Very fast adopters. These are, you know, millennials and Gen Zs coming through at a fast rate. Very fast at adopting new technologies, but also of using the internet in innovative ways. We'll see this again and again in some of the examples we give. Just their use of WhatsApp, for example, is amazing. The size, and it's just not to be underestimated, that huge size of Mexico. But there are 5 key cities or 6 key cities in Mexico, and Camille's got some interesting thoughts about that and how to geolocate. This very high responsiveness you get, and again, Nora and Camille will bring that out when they talk about the tools used in the Mexican market for the online marketing and for the websites and how that is. And this notion of a mobile first market. A mobile first market is a market where the people in the market have discovered the internet and use the internet on their mobile phone first. So they're not using so many PCs. Their phone is what they're doing for business and for personal life. And again, will come out more in the rest of the webinar. Nora, perhaps you would do this one?
Yes. Let's talk about a little bit of your international buyer persona that is so important. Whether it's Mexico or Canada or any of your target international markets, before you start your online marketing or building international websites, you have to think about your buyer persona. What is important to know is how your international buyer persona can differ from your domestic persona. On this slide are a few questions you should ask yourself, like, are there multiple buyer personas for my export markets? How do they find me? What do they care about? You want your website to resonate with the local buyer persona. So here's an example in the picture you can see from L'Oreal USA. There is a subtle message here from L'Oreal. In L'Oreal, you can find the US website, their main hero image of the homepage shows only women in a very urban scene with a diverse group of women all on top floor of a building, all busy at work, all obviously with great hair because it's L'Oreal after all. But in L'Oreal Mexico, resonates more with more with the Mexican market. Still, they use an urban citizen, but perhaps a more relaxed and has men in the picture too, as you can see. Also more of a team approach as they are all gathered together. As the buyer persona is different in each market, the message of the website is subtle, different too, although the brand's guidelines remain consistent. That's very important. The difference can be very subtle, but most important that they resonate with your local persona, and that's key to localization. That's something that sometimes you see, oh, it's just another image. No, that subtleness definitely works a lot for you in terms of localizing your website for your international buyer persona. Susanna, back to you.
Thanks, Nora. Yeah. So now we want to talk a little bit about the websites themselves. What makes for a great website in Canada? What makes for a great website in Mexico? And the first question, and this is something we get regularly, so I just want to bring it up right from the start. I've got a great US website. Why do I need a different one for Canada? Why do I need a different one for Mexico? And the reason is simply because of the way the internet is structured. Search engines are localized. They put the searcher at the center. And they say, what is relevant for that person sitting in Guadalajara or sitting in British Columbia? Maybe that website based out of Boston in English, using imperial and not metric, and those sort of things, maybe that's not relevant for this person. And therefore, you need to have a localized website. Google Canada is different from Google USA. It's different from Google Mexico. Here is a very simple, silly example. Squeakless dog toys. My dog usually barks during webinars, by the way. So I invest in squeakless dog toys. If I'm in Canada, I go on to Google Canada, and I get things like bustle.com, gladdogsnations.com, and so on. If I'm in Michigan, which after all, I mean, you're next to Canada, I'm going to get different things. freedompullharness.com, Yahoo blog, different results, because Google takes the view of the searcher. So you always need to have the searcher at the front and foremost, the center of everything you do online, whether that's websites or online marketing. So a localized website, I've listed like 10 criteria here, which make up for us what a localized website is. You'll note that language is 1 out of 10 criteria. Things like the domain name or hosting are just as important to make sure that Google says, or the search engine says, that is relevant for that local person. So if you want to reach into your prospects in British Columbia or in Guadalajara, you need to have websites that are relevant for those audiences. There's quite a nice little tricky way you could look at localized websites and whether your website's actually being really efficient or not. So when you go into your Google Analytics, go into the acquisitions and see where people are coming from. So for example, this is a screenshot of a website we managed. Out of a total of like 10,500 hits on it, 9,000 are in Mexico, and the rest are, okay, there's Chile in there, there's Colombia, there's some US. So we know that this website, this Mexican website, is relevant for Mexico, and that Google ranks it as relevant for that. So that's quite a good test you can do on your websites to see where Google thinks they're relevant. I mentioned in the past in this webinar so far that we have these online global programs. This is a well-trodden path. And we will be going through some examples of these sort of things and looking at the different types of websites possible and online marketing possible. But there's a lot of examples to build your brand and grow your lead generation in these markets. One of the points about a Canadian website is the top-level domain name, and the top-level domain name is your business.com, for example, usually. In Canada, it's a .ca, and it's hard to get that .ca. You have to be Canadian, have a Canadian trademark, or a Canadian business to buy a .ca. So very often we find we have to make a subdomain, which is fine, but it works as well. But the goal, the best, would be to have a .ca. And I've listed here, I mean, Canadians are very used to working with .coms as well, and they have absolutely no problem doing with a .com, which they think is probably in the US, if it's for things like entertainment and videos and social media. But as soon as it comes to something higher level, something that concerns money or health or buying, then they much prefer the .ca or a Canadian subdomain. So again, when you're looking at shopping, product research, any kind of work-related research, they'll go for the .ca rather than the .com. The language is interesting too. It's not just the spelling. And the spelling is sometimes, I mean, they'll do English spelling for a lot of things like color and things like that, center. But they'll sometimes do American or US spelling, like recognize. They say recognize. One of the other, but the thing on the right hand side, references, is really important. If it's a Canadian website, you want it to be in metric. You want Canadian dollars. You want all those things that are relevant to the local buyer persona. So don't forget that in your websites, especially the thing about metric, by the way. I mentioned the sort of English spelling. Canadian French, French is also significantly different. Now, only 20% of fifth of the population speaks French as their first language, but in the entire of Quebec as a province, you can't really get business in Quebec, which is, after all, the second powerhouse of province of Canada, unless you have a French website. Anything that has to do with the government in any of the provinces also needs to be in French. So just if you say, oh, it's only 20% of the population, careful. That is a very high-end GDP part of the economy, of the Canadian economy, and it's across the province governments. Again, about language, we mentioned this notion of keywords. Keywords, as you know, are important for your website, and I thought this could be an example. What you call sneakers in the USA are runners in Canada. And if you're in, that's just an example of the kind of thing you need to be aware of when you're looking at localizing. If you're in this business of athletic business and you want to rank for running shoes, then you really need to make sure that you're using the word runners and not sneakers in Canada, because such a small percentage will only look for sneakers. They're all looking for runners. One of the big points about Canada as well is this growing concern for privacy, well-being, and general data protection. Canada is rapidly moving towards a European EU style of GDPR compliance. They have something already in place called the CASL, which is anti-spam law, but it is moving increasingly towards a full data protection. So the easiest thing to do is just make your website to the standard of the EU with GDPR, and you will have you'll be absolutely compliant for Canada's CASL for that. Right. Just a final slide, just sort of grouping together some of those attributes. So the domain name is really important, making sure that you've got the right English or the right French and the right keywords for those. Be careful on the keywords. One often trips up on those. Make sure that the websites are digitally compliant, much more so than the US websites. That they're localized, that they're Canadian-centric. I've put that word in just to make sure that you gain the trust that is so needed for that buyer's journey by saying, we do business in Canada. We can do business. We're able to do business in Canada. We have experience in that. As Canada is a relatively mature internet market, it's best to start from the start with an online marketing strategy. Waiting for your website to rank organically will take a while, and it is a very competitive place in Canada. So right from the start, we would recommend that you have a strong online marketing strategy for your Canada business. Right. Nora, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about internet use in Mexico.
Yeah, definitely. Mexicans have adopted the internet with a lot of energy. It's a very young population, as we mentioned before, and you can see that in some of the statistics here that we have. For example, Mexicans spend an average of 9 hours a day on the internet, and this is because they use the internet for everything, for their business and personal life. Mexicans don't use the telephone a lot. They prefer to use WhatsApp as a mean of communication. So the other stat also that I want to highlight here is that 96% of Mexicans access the internet via the smartphone, mobile first, as Susana mentioned before. So Mexico is a great example, and this means that your website has to be designed with mobile enablement front and foremost. This is what we really have to take up from here. As you can see, it's 95.9% of the people that use mobiles to access the internet. Another thing that is very important, the next slide is showing how for Mexico, it's so important, two things that are differentiate from other Spanish-speaking countries is the Mexican Spanish. The good news is that your Mexican website can go a long way. There are about 38 million people in the USA that consider Spanish as their first language. We find that a lot, that our clients, when they have a Mexican website, their US Spanish-speaking clients start to go into that Mexican website as well. Mexican site will also reach into the rest of Latin America. So you can get people from Colombia, Chile, all visiting your website, although its primary purpose is to generate leads for Mexico. Another thing about Mexican side is the importance of imagery. Mexicans, like all Latin Americans like us, respond very well to imagery. So make sure your imagery is great and preferably resonate with the local buyer persona, as we mentioned before. We respond to imagery, we get influenced by imagery. So maybe you're looking for an image that is stronger and bolder than your US image that is maybe slightly a product, because people are more interested in product, but sometimes we get, we like to mix a little bit of more people with the product as well. And going to the next slide, we talked about, I'm too fast. Okay. So we're gonna talk now.
My apologies. Whoops.
Okay. I'll wait for you.
There we go.
Okay, next slide.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Keyword. As well as Susanna mentioned, for Canada, it applies the same for keywords in Spanish. So here we have, even though it's the same language, okay, here is the information we get from the same search engine, that is Google, if your product is cars. So if you use the Spanish from Spain, you're missing mostly the 73% of the users' traffic for your product if you don't use the right keywords. So it's the same language, different keywords. That's part of your localization, and that's part how you optimize your website and to maintain it relevant to your user. So that's a very key strategy for you. The next slide. So again, we're talking about how, best practices for Mexican website. The top level country domain name is .com, .mx, or .mx. Both works well for Mexico. Mobile first, so your website has to be mobile enabled. And the reason we present to you these two as a best practices is because the Omama and Aeroclave make the use of video and imagery very well to remain relevant to the Mexican market, besides the language, of course. And I want to just highlight again that WhatsApp is the main way of communication, even for businesses. Yo Mamas is a business to consumer business. Aeroclave is a business to business and business to government. Both we recommend that the use of WhatsApp and social media as one of the main medium of communication. So now this is ASCI. Getting a Mexican website is a terrific way to grow your business in Mexico. It can even help your US domestic business, as it happens with ASCI. The Mexican market is highly responsive of whether you sell directly or via distributor. Your Mexican website really acts as the best possible sales representative in the market, and that's what's happened with our client at ASCI. Okay, as you can see here, they have their main message in the language using the local keywords. Our next slide, we did more business in Mexico in 2021. The return on investment can be really quick as well in Mexico, as the market is so reactive. I'm going to turn now back to Susanna so you can take a look at online marketing. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that overview, Nora. Before we talk about online marketing, I just wanted to launch a quick poll. Just to ask y'all sort of, what's your view on this? Would you like more information about USMCA on the website part, and in particular these online global programs, the grants that go with them, and so on? So there are these grants for the programs in various states and provinces, and then these dedicated programs for all the Mexican and Canadian websites that we can do. And if you'd like more information on that, I'm very happy to send you some emails, or we can send you some resources or point you in the right direction. Thank you very much for the quick tapping on the clicking through. Thank you. That's a very nice responsive audience we have today. I'm very appreciative of that. Right, so I'm going to close the poll now, and then we're going to talk, if I can find my cursor, and then we're going to talk a bit about the online marketing. But again, thank you very much for filling that out. All right, close that, and let's move on to talk a bit about online marketing in Canada and Mexico. And again, just sort of an overview of the three markets that we're in. So we said that Mexico is a very reactive market, and I think that's shows very well in this slide. You know, Mexicans spend 3.5 hours a day on average on social media. Versus your 2 hours in the U.S. and a more restrained 1 hour and 45 minutes in Canada. So, but again, even the Canadians are spending a lot of time on social media, and I think that's worth thinking about as well. The good news as well is that all three countries have the same big tech giants. So we're looking at Google, we're looking at Facebook, we're looking at LinkedIn, and so on. Just a quick snapshot view of the Canadian one. About 70% of the population of Canada are active on social media, particularly Facebook is still the leader, although it has started to creep down a bit. And they do spend quite a bit of time on it, as I said, although not as much as the US and Mexico. They tend to be also more restrained, possibly even more restrained than the US, more suspicious of things, more worried, careful to engage directly and to respond. Nonetheless, the conversion rates that one can get from good social online marketing are as strong as you would get with strong engagement markets like the Mexican market. The most active social media platforms, I said earlier, are sort of, the Facebooks, but the ones that are growing the most really are LinkedIn and always YouTube as well. Canadian businesses also interact a lot on social media, 86%. That's similar to what you have in the United States. If we said sort of, I did mention that it is growing, and you can see that 8% growth last year. So that's, sort of post-pandemic in a sense, or almost post-pandemic. That's an extra 2.5 million people joining social media in Canada last year alone. The vast majority of those accessing it via their mobile phones as well. Mexico. Cami, why don't you talk us a little bit about Mexico?
Thank you, Susana. Absolutely. Good afternoon. Good morning, everybody. So going on over Mexico's online marketing snapshot, it's a very critical market. It's a very reactive market. Mexico, many people just sometimes they try to tackle Latin America and Mexico all together. And most of the time, particularly when we talk about on a business-to-business approach, it's not the best idea. Going over about Mexicans' behavior online, it's interesting that 95% of Mexico's Facebook users are accessing the platform via mobile. This is very important at the time that we select the placements when we build a campaign. 65% of the total population, that's pretty much most of half of the population are active on social media. And 90% of internet users in Mexico, they are at least watching one video per week, whether it's on social, YouTube. So that's quite high. And little over 3 hours are spent for social media per day, Mexicans. So this is very, very interesting. When we move to the social media use in Mexico, 100 million of total active users in Mexico. Combined, obviously, this is across Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, as Susana mentioned at the beginning of the webinar. Mexicans use WhatsApp as the main form of digital communication rather than iOS or Android. So this is critical to know when we create the campaigns on Facebook, because as many of you guys know, WhatsApp, it's under Facebook umbrellas. So this is critical as well. The numbers are on the rise we are getting 12.4% increase per year. This means 11 million people are getting, including themselves in the social media spectrum in Mexico. And 98.9 number of social media users are checking out the platforms on their mobile. And the social media users, the percentage, that's a very, very high percentage as well. The amount of people that are accessing the social media platforms are designed to be used by mobile devices. So this shouldn't surprise us. And moving on to how Mexicans, Mexicans are all about engagement. When we see this evidence here on a post, this is a single post, the same post, 20,451 engagements. When we talk about engagements, it's people who had a like, who just liked the post, who made a comment, they reacted, versus 1,205 in England. This is critical. This is something, it was the same client. This is a client, an automobile industry client. So this is how you see in terms of how Mexicans react, and how there's a great opportunity to reach out to them with a message to make them, to create that brand awareness, especially. When we talk about video and images that stimulate and that resonate with the market, video, it's important. It's critical for your business in Mexico. Pretty much integrating that video resource collateral on your website and within your online marketing strategy, it's critical. You are building brand awareness. People engage even better when they see a video versus a single image. The conversions, they tend to be way higher. This is on both consumer marketing and business marketing. The return of investment, it's also, you can see the return of investment. You can measure the return of investment way faster with the video versus an image. And yes, video, it's great for international audiences. If you are doing a marketing strategy from the United States and you want to engage with people, in this case Mexico, video, it's a way to go. You have the resources to go with video. That's your best bet. Something that we have to mention about Mexico, we all know Mexico, it's a big country, it's a huge country. We don't target the whole country of Mexico. It's critical to go and perform what we call geo-targeting. It's just the same as we do with the United States. You don't tackle the whole United States. You decide whether you want to go onto the big cities, the smaller metro areas, certain regions. It's pretty much the same case with Mexico. So here you see it's not the same whether you want to just do a geo-targeting campaign within Mexico City or Cancun, or you just want to address the areas and the border towns. So this is critical as well in terms of what are you looking for, which people, the audience persona that you're looking for and you want to target, whether your product is available in that region as well. It's critical in order for us as marketer to decide where are we going to target, which country, which part of the country we're going to be targeting. Moving on to the next, we wanted to bring this up. This is a clear example from Facebook. This is a business-to-business example of a client of ours that they do have a product that this is an industrial product. We are targeting a business industrial management, and they have several versions of a product. In this case, we did images, but we have several images, so we chose the carousel format on Facebook, and we had a lot of success in conversions. The call to action was, as you see here, was get a quote. It would take you exactly on the version that you clicked, and you would then fill out a form. And it was a great way not only to drive conversions and sales, but also for the client to get some information from probably people who might not become a client at the moment, but they gathered their information. So this is the way to go when you have several products. You have always the online marketing, the social media marketing. They always provide for that this type of placement. So
Thank you very much, Nine.
Yeah, thank you very much, Susanna. I'm going to pass over with Susanna and Nora, and thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Cami. Before we talk about sort of the takeaways and some of the questions, and again, thank you very much for those questions coming in. There's quite a few now. I just wanted to launch another poll and ask if anybody's interested. You know, we can sort of point you in the right direction for. We have a lot of resources on our website for Mexico, for Canada, for online marketing, for websites. We can sort of point you in the right direction if you're looking at SEO or social media marketing or account-based marketing and so on for these different markets. Then we can let you know. So if you let us know, we'll send you stuff, or if you want us to get in touch directly, we'll do that as well. But just let us know. And again, thank you very much for just you're very reactive on this. I much appreciate that, and you're all clicking away there. Thank you. Right. Nearly 90% voting. This is amazing. Thank you. Right. I'm going to close this now. Two more just came in. I'm going to close this poll now, and let's go to takeaway and takeaways, next steps, and then the Q&A. I think one of the takeaways we wanted to give really was just how important online business development tools are these days. This is an amazing statistic. Sort of, we're 8 billion people on the planet. 5 billion of us are using the internet. And when I say using, the average use is 7 hours a day of the internet. And as we saw in Mexico, it's like 8 hours a day. If you're a mid-cap company looking to export and grow internationally, grow your brand internationally and grow your exports, this is good news. You know where your clients, your prospects, your employees, your distributors, your future distributors, you know where they are and you know how to reach them. They're online and you can reach them via different formats of social media. So this is why we think the internet is so vital for people who are looking to grow their business internationally. For that, and especially this works well in the USMCAs. The key is having a localized approach. So if you want to go global, go local, put it that way. So a localized website and localized online marketing, as Camille was pointing out. So there are lots of things that make up a localized website. It's not just taking your US website and sticking some Spanish pages on it. It's actually making it really alive for the Mexican audience who's sitting there in Mexico City or Acapulco, wherever he's sitting, or Monterrey. So a lot goes into it, and it's a very good return on investment. So some of I've highlighted Mexican here. There, because of I could have done the Canadian one. I just took one. So there's there, and each market will have its own specificities. So its own top-level country domain name, its own keywords, its own approach, just on for WhatsApp or for social media and so on. Equally, for the online marketing side, a lot goes into building these relationships with your future clients in Mexico and Canada. It's really having a coherent and structured online marketing campaign that goes along defining your KPIs, choosing the right platforms for the type of buyer persona that you have, and of course, defining your buyer persona. Remember that slide that Nora presented in the beginning about the different types of L'Oreal imagery as L'Oreal was looking at their buyer personas in the US versus Mexico. So that's, defining your buyer persona in those local markets is the starting point. Just wanted to highlight again, we do have these USMCA or TMEX programs that have developed, and there are grants available for them in across many provinces and across many U.S. states. So if you're interested in that, let us know. We can put you in touch with the right people for that. And the online programs are all about growing your top line. They're all about your sales growth, your lead generation, and brand awareness. There's a ton of stuff on our website that you can download for free if you go to the resources page and find that. And with that, I'm going to turn to a couple of questions, I think. And one of the first ones that have come out as well is just, I guess actually perhaps for you, Nora. Actually, there's a couple that have come through for the Mexican market, some for Nora and some for Kemi. Perhaps I can start with you, Nora. If I have a Mexican website, I'm going to a trade show quite soon in Mexico. In what way can the Mexican websites be used in a Mexican or Latin American trade show? Nora, any ideas on that?
That's a very good question, and I have done it myself when I was marketing some of B2B product for a global company, and it worked wonders. Definitely, there are some simple ways to use it. You can just display your Spanish website homepage video on a loop in your booth and add a QR code to your booth that goes directly to your Mexican website. So it will work wonders as an extended sales rep during the show, and obviously showcase your trade show attendance on your website. It could be a top banner that shows your booth number, the dates of the event, how they can find you. So definitely those are the simplest ways, but very powerful, that the ways to use your website for a trade show.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this is something we've seen coming back since the pandemic. I think it's just people, using their online tools in more innovative ways in Mexico. In trade shows. That's really good. There's a question also that I'm gonna from Gordon. Hi, Gordon. Good to see you. Just about, are there special considerations for marketing professional services rather than for marketing manufacturers or a B2B company? And I would say, Gordon, I think that's a great question. It's a vast question, in fact. Services, we use a similar platforms. We would use similar platforms. We'd probably use LinkedIn more than some other platforms. And the biggest thing that we have, one of the biggest challenges we have with service companies is defining them better in terms of their keywords. If you're a tax consultant and you specialize in, you want to grow your business in Canada, well, how do you differentiate your tax efficient, your taxability, tax consultancy business from the local one with different keywords? The keywords are really challenging in service companies. The other point is just growing brand trust in the service sector. Those are the two big challenges. Unless, Camille, you have anything to add on that, please go right ahead. I've got a question as well about the online global programs. Where do I get in touch to know that? So I put this slide back on. If you go to your economic development agency in your local province or state, they should be able to direct you towards information about the grants. Or else go on our website, and if you go to the partners page and look at the online global programs, there's a page for each one of the states where we have grants available. So you can do that as well. One question I have, again, perhaps either Nora or Camille, whoever wants to answer it, on WhatsApp. I have a personal WhatsApp. Does that work? Does that work in Mexico?
For online marketing, no, it's WhatsApp for business. in order to make it work. Yes, you can link the WhatsApp, the personal WhatsApp, to an ad on Facebook, but it's not advisable. In order to do the best out of it, you should use WhatsApp for Business. It's free as well, and you can find an alternate number, a business number, voice over IP to link that, and just go about it.
Yeah, the same goes for services and regarding using your WhatsApp for connecting with your potential buyers. Definitely business accounts are most recommendable than personal ones, because it's really a business tool, not a personal tool.
Right.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, a lot of the other questions are very specific. There's one about importing kelp, for example, which I'm gonna, they're very specific about individual companies and things like that. So I'm gonna answer them all by email or send them to Mindy when relevant and things. And we will answer all your questions by email separately, I think. But we did want to get you back to your desks within an hour. So I wanted to thank my colleagues, Nora and Camille, for stepping in and talking to us about the Mexican side of the USMCA. As their insights. Mindy, thank you so much as always for helping out on the commercial services. Is an amazing resource for exporters. Reach out to Mindy, and we'll and she can and the trade shows they put on, the events they put on are really strong and worthwhile. So please do take advantage of those resources. For all of you who took the time today, thank you so much for attending. And we wish you all the best in exporting, growing your business in the USMCA. We hope to see you on the road in Canada, the USA, and Mexico. And as I said, we will be answering your questions directly, individually, as they're all quite specific and technical on that. Thank you all very much. Keep on exporting and keep on growing. Thank you, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.